Hi.
Welcome. As you can see, we have a full house today, and we're not doing a sprint. So, yay. Uh, if Richard was here, he'd be so happy. He might be here. I don't know. Richard, if you're here, let us know. Whenever we do sprints, Richard, our friend from across the pond, always is like, no sprints, let's talk. Uh, so, I want to welcome all of my guests tonight. We are, if you are not, have not been paying attention, I've been announcing everywhere, going to be talking about Kindle Vella. And I have some wonderful people here who not only have amazing stories on Kindle Vella, but we have one who just launched their Kindle Vella and one who's about to launch their Kindle Vella. So we have all kinds of the spectrum and everything there for you. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves and tell us just a bit about their story. And we're going to start with our newbie on the block, Miss Esther.
Hello. I'll be the new for everyone in the chat too. So I'll take the new position. So my name is Esther Marie Andujar. I am a Puerto Rican writer, aspiring to be a hybrid author. My soon to be launched Kindle Vella is called Marina the Vampire, and it is a enemies to lovers, soulmate, fate mate, um, paranormal romance. So yeah, that's coming towards the end of the month.
Yay!
Yay.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, I see my face. I guess that's me. I'm Kelly Chase. Yeah. And I have been on Vela since it launched like a year ago now. My series is called Bug, and it started out as a novel that I could not quite get right. I knew it wasn't right. And so when Bella came along, I thought this would be a really good opportunity to sort of tell the story in a structure that maybe fit more like a TV feel, which is what I was kind of hoping to do with that big cast. And it was really hard to do in book form. So it's definitely a zombie series, but it's not like too scary, horrific. I think people who don't care for zombies and horror have found some other stuff in there. So it's paranormal too. So there's another element of like weirdness in there that's not just all head smashing and zombie chasing and or running from them. So yeah, so I'm so excited to be here and talk about Bella. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to keep it
Yeah.
going round and around the bend.
Hi, I am Sylvia Hubbard, and just like Callie, I've been on the platform since it initiated, but I am going into my third Kindle Vella actually. The first one I produced was She Works Hard for the Money, and it was a sensual erotic bully romance. And then I did Her Substitute Husband, His Boss, which was a reverse harem erotic romance. And in August, I'll be starting a new one, which will be called Delilah's Desire, which will be like a May December drama with a bunch of sisters and a woman who falls in love with her baby's father. So that's going to be fun.
Ooh, I
Ooh.
know, right? Ooh.
I'm telling okay, the drama.
Right, the drama.
I'm here for it all.
All right. My name is Cole. I publish under the name Kayla Canoe. I started on Vela, I believe, in December of 2021. I actually used a story that I had written for a NaNoWriMo and decided to convert it into serial fiction. It's called Space Slave. It is about a human boy who ends up selling himself on the intergalactic black market to prevent his mother from a life of prostitution because his deadbeat dad owes a mafia group a ton of money. So it's got a little bit of steaminess to it. It is boys' love. And what else? It's got some BDSM elements in there as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
Love it. The spice in it is so good.
And of course, my lovely co-host.
Hi everyone, I'm Gwenna. Most of you know me by now at Gwenna the Winna. I just launched my own Kindle Vella, the title of which is Huntress, Sparks Among the Snow. It is a rewrite of my first book, and I am super excited to share it with all of you. It is a paranormal post-apocalyptic. So a lot of mystery in it, a lot of violence, and a lot of gore, and I cannot wait to bring you all into that world. Back to you, Tiff.
Awesome. And of course, I'm Tiffany, TLRS Lifestyle on all the interwebs. You're here on my channel. And I'm just excited to dive in and talk to these lovely people and then make a little maybe announcement at the end of the night. So, yay. I'm going to go pull up the comments really fast because we have some of our favorites here. We have Morgan dropping in to say hello. Uh-oh, my computer's going slow. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Need some help?
Yeah, can you make them come up? Because I
You
don't
got
know
it.
what I'm clicking.
We've got Barrett in the house as
There he
well.
is.
He is packing and lurking.
Yes.
All right. Cole said hello to everyone. And then we moved into Hi Desiree. Nick is
Nick.
here. Hi, Nick.
Oh.
Hi, Jenna. Hi, Jenna. Hi, Jenna. Esther's in the comments. And Margaret. Last but very much not least, our own JC.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into, I guess, what the biggest things, just in case people aren't familiar, is what is Vella? Like, how would you describe it? How would you kind of explain it to someone who's maybe never picked up their Kindle and looked under Vella? And I think we had decided that Kaylee gets to drop us into the.
I feel no pressure at all. No pressure at all. I'll hit the first share. So it's so crazy because so many people still haven't heard of Vella, and it's so basically in a nutshell, there's a lot of serialized fiction apps out there, and so Vella is sort of Amazon's, foothold into that still space. So if you're writing a book and you self-publish on Kindle or any of the other, platforms that you can publish your own work in, Vella is a self-publishing platform, but it's primarily for serialized fiction, which is episodic, not so much structured like a novel, maybe with that same sort of beginning, middle, end structure like a movie, but more like a TV show where you would come back episode after episode. And some series certainly might be shorter running, so there would be an end point like you would have with the book. But some series, no one in this room, looking at myself, that could go on forever with their series because they've just gone crazy and decided it should never end. It could, kind of like something that you would just continue to turn back to episode after episode, maybe organize like seasons like a TV show. It just depends, but that's the flexibility of the platform. It's really up to the author to tell the story the best way they can. So in a nutshell, soothing voice out.
Very nicely.
That was so good.
I told you to listen to her talk.
I
Just
know.
Yeah, when Kelly said that is in an nutshell, I'm like, no, don't stop talking. So funny.
It's so great.
It's a group show. It's a group show. I'm done.
Well, I want to know, how do you think writing for Vella differs from writing like a traditional novel, or do you think it does? Open to anyone.
It does. It definitely does. Writing fiction and writing serial art is a whole big difference. Like she said, you do have the arcs. You're going into the arcs, but it's like it is literally like you're writing TV shows, like you're writing for overall arc, but each show or each episode has its own mini story or mini arcs going on, weaving throughout it. And the more characters you involve, the bigger the show. I know when I did my last one, I was at 126 episodes before I was like, you know what, we're gonna do a happily ever after for now, and I'm gonna come back to this one, and then we're gonna go to the next one, because I occasionally I always weave characters between each book. So book from my first book, you actually meet more the characters jump into the next book, and then those characters jump into the next book. So that's how I've kept like the status up, because the readers find me because they want to know, well, what happened to these people at the end of this story, and then I'm bringing in a new story which continues the other stories that are all underlining. So but yeah, it just, you kind of are writing fiction and but serial in terms of each episode. After every episode, it's just going to be flowing together into one big art. And like she said, you could go on forever. I think all the good serial writers know, like, man, we could keep this world going forever and ever, and then we die and somebody else will be able to pick it up because we've made it so large. But yeah, it that is in a nutshell. You should never get into it thinking, oh, I'll just write a fiction story, because actually I've been writing serials since like 2009, but I was doing it on my website until this platform opened up. And then now that this platform opened up, I know the difference, because I'll come out with a fiction book and then I'll do a serial at least once or twice a year, and then I'll come out with another fiction book. And trust me, it is so different. It is so different. And you can't even go in thinking I'm going to just write a book. You're going to write an epic, a saga. You're gonna, you're bringing those words to the forefront, because if you don't come with everything you got, the readers are going to know and you won't get the reads.
Mm-hmm. So you would say it's a lot more of a commitment.
Yeah, you're marrying that book. You might as well throw a ring on it and keep it going.
Oh, I love the analogy. Well, and I mean, Callie just said 124. Wow.
Well,
Like
I
most
know
people
Callie's
wouldn't
at
get to
like
do that.
96, and she's like, I think you're not even at like a year into the infection or something. It's you're
3 days.
I think you're,
Three
yeah, you're
days
just
in.
you're just like not a week, and she's at 96, so that means like,
Oh,
hey,
I
she
didn't even
can,
count the time.
yeah, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
so much going
Wow.
on. So she could keep us going to like 2,000, 5,000 episodes. We could be here like 6 years later, like, okay, we're at day 5. We're just at day 5. Woo! I'm still alive. But yeah, it does. It gets so
Oh.
engrossed. And I think when I was doing it, and I got up to like 100, and I got up to 100, and it was so great, because I've always wanted to do like a Thornbird saga. So
Mm.
and so you're like, oh my God, I'm accomplishing like the one big dream as a writer. But like my brain was literally leaking out. So I applaud Kelly, because I was like, I can't have these people. They were waking me up at night. They were talking to me constantly. And they do, like, after you get in there, I'm like 33,000 words in, and
Woo!
they're all in my head, all talking, all having these issues. Hey, when you're going to fix this? When you're going to fix it? I'm hurrying. Okay. But it's like you love them, but it's you want to give so much, and you have to, like, you really have to be committed to these characters, because the readers are going to tell you when you aren't true to them. They're going to tell you, they're going to come back, and they're going to be like, oh no, that you can't have this cannot work. And you're like, okay, either you can say, hold on, I'm getting to that. But it was like I knew I was going to move on to a new book, and still bring stories on with me. So I'm comfortable with that. But I'm like, I know Callie's like, because I'm like, you can't stop now. You're in the deep end, girl. Let's keep it going. I'm putting the fire under you too. Like, come on, hurry up.
How many thousand words for, because I know Sylvia said she's 300,000 words in. How many thousands of words have you guys written you think cumulatively for your Vellas
Yeah.
so far?
What about you, Callie? How many has it been? Because do you even know off the
It's
top?
I do. It's 250,000 words right
Yeah.
now.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cole, for you, how
I
many?
I
know.
I actually had to take mine off of Google Cloud because I had locked it up. I had to actually push it down into Word because you can't go over 250,000 in Google Cloud. They would tell you to stop.
Holy smokes.
Right.
Wow.
So
I
yeah.
think mine's somewhere between like 60 and 70,000 right now.
Okay.
Listen, apparently a baby. I thought I was, an adult with around 10 to 12,000, and here we are, a toddler.
Yeah, you're a fetus at this point.
I am a fetus.
I guess yeah, we all are. Y'all got full grown kids. Like, oh my gosh.
But it's wonderful when you do it. It is. It's a great experience. I mean, I know when I did hit that 300,000, like I was singing all day, like 300,000, 300, because it felt so good to be able, and then to know that all those 300,000 words was a really good story. That's even more powerful as a writer. You just feel so good knowing that, you know, a lot of this is not wasted. It because when like I said, when you're writing a serial, everything matters, every scene, everything they talk about, because you're hard hitting, because your reader are looking for holes. They are looking for things that you missed, and so you're staying on top of everything. Like it's like you're juggling balls, right, Kylie? You're just literally just juggling them, and you're having so much fun. But it's just like, yeah, you wrote a really good story. So I can just, yeah, I'm getting into your story now, Callie. So it's like, oh, I'm trying to hurry up and catch up with you to finish up mine. It was like, oh.
Well, I have to say, I'm curious, what made you, I mean, I know, Callie, you said that you were trying to write it as a novel, but it didn't quite feel right. And Sylvia, you mentioned that you write a novel plus do this every year. Uh, so I'm curious, what brought you into realizing that this would be better as a serial versus just head to the grindstone, make it a novel, and just release it as one?
Well, you go first, Callie. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first version of Bug that I wrote was intended to be like book one of a 3-book series, because obviously, like, you want like the fall of civilization when the zombies happen, but I wanted there to be like the complete circle, so you knew how it started and how we got out of it. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit hopeful that maybe there's a chance to recover. So the first version, what I had so much feedback that was crazy, some of it really helpful, some of it not so helpful. But all the feedback that I had from like beta readers and friends early on, like the first version, the main character of Bug is a lesbian girl, and the whole cast initially was, on the LGBTQ continuum. And one of the most persistent pieces of feedback I had from readers was, no one will ever believe there are this many like gay people in the place. I'm like, it takes place in LA. Like, I think they're actually like, this is more legit. But I started to play around with like, okay, I know. I mean, the zombies aren't the hard thing to believe, right? It's that there's like, so I was dealing with, I know, I was like, okay, so I want this to be more appealing to more readers, but I still don't want to gut the stuff that made me want to write this story. So that was the first piece. And then the second piece, once I finished the book and said, okay, I'm going to recast one or two of the characters so that it's a little bit less, ironically homogenous, like all on the, LGBTQ spectrum. But then agents, when I started submitting agents, were saying, it's haunting, the world building's amazing, but it doesn't feel finished. It feels like the first part of a first book. And that really made sense to me, because I'm like, yes, it does. It literally feels like the beginning of a book that could have been, 250,000 words. So once I heard about it, but really then once I got sort of to the point rejected, but positive feedback, I just put it on the back burner and said, I don't know what to do right now. I don't know that I have the time. And then when Bella came around, it was like, what about that? And actually, I was working with someone, a marketing person on other parts of my like work life, other stuff that I do. And he told me about Bella and was like, this could be like a really perfect outlet for that project. And I thought, easy peasy, I've got like 70,000 words. I'll just put, nope, only 15,000 words of the original book actually are in the 250,000 that's out now. So I had to
Wow.
basically rewrite the whole thing.
Wow.
I know, in a way, it's kind of heartbreaking because I had to get rid of a lot, but it's actually like, I mean, Sylvia said, you love the story and the characters, and you're so committed. I think it's better for it. But that was my journey, book to serial.
Wow.
and
Wow.
and I kind of like got into it because well, it was like I had heard that Vella was coming because actually I was talking to an agent friend, and she was like, Amazon's going to do exactly what you've been doing on your website. And she's like, I thought it was so weird. And I was like, really? And she was telling me about it. I was like, that is what I do on my website. And I was like, okay. But and like in early of that year when I had heard about it, my mom had passed away, and then 3 weeks later, my best friend passed away. So I was kind of like at a stopping point in my life in trying to come out with books because it was like, I was like, I don't know what to write. I just, I can't think. I don't want to think. And then when I knew Vella was going to be released, April of that year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to find the worst person, the worst character I've always been afraid to write about, and I'm going to write about him because who would love this person? And then I made it a challenge that he was just the most misogynistic. He was horrible to people. He was always fighting everybody, and then he couldn't be touched or he'll beat the crap out of you. So I was like, okay, yeah, he'll get a romance. That sounds perfect.
What a
So I
challenge.
created this guy who could not be loved. And I just challenged myself because I knew, like, in my heart, my mom and my best friend would like kick my butt if I even told them I stopped writing. So it was kind of like an ode to them of challenging myself to find the worst thing to write about and make it the most beautiful thing to write. So that's where Bet came from. She works hard for the money. And then I had his brothers come into it. And that's why his brothers then jump into the next book. And I decided I wanted to challenge myself again and find out if a couple who's been married for 20 years, who are like just friends at this point, if they invited the boss into the bedroom, how does that dynamic work? How would that dynamic really work? And would it be believable if, a man accepts another man into a polyamorous relationship, and could it work? But then of course I'm a science freak and I am a tech freak. So this was a computer company takeover, and the boss was really manipulating everybody from the beginning, and it turned into this huge suspense thriller. I was killing people, and I was like cutting babies out of stomachs, and it was just like, okay, let's get this going. I was Hard Knocks Detroit at that point. We was shooting, we was killing, we was taking babies out of people, and it was like, this is a night in Detroit. This feels like Detroit on a Saturday night. So let's go.
Did I not tell y'all drama? Did I not tell y'all drama? That's all I got to
But
say.
everybody knows in my book, I think my readers know by now, somebody's gonna die, and I'm usually killing some kid at some point, and I'm just like, I've had a happy child life. I swear it's Detroit. I swear it's Detroit.
I can defend. I used to live in Michigan. Yes, Detroit breeds a special type of something.
It does. It does. Callie would be like, love it, because it'd be like the zombies coming out at night.
It's
The
fair.
purge, the zombies. Woo! I swear to you.
Esther, as someone who's coming into Vella, what made you choose Vella over writing a book?
So this is more of a um, business decision for my author career. I know throwing myself to self publishing will be very overwhelming, with all the other things that I have, like personal things that I have. So it's like, how can I kind of like ease myself? And I knew about Bella. I can I have a complicated relationship with Bella because I could technically read in Vela, but I cannot buy tokens to read more because they see Puerto Rico as part of the US, but they don't have it in the system as part of the US. It's just weird
Oh.
thing.
Wow.
But the other thing is like I have read most of what I read besides book is serialized fiction. I used to read a lot in Good Novel. I think I read a little bit in Radish way back in the day. And I come from fan fiction background, and that's everything in fan fiction is serialized, and it can go on and on and on and on and on and on. So I was like, okay, this is something that I do understand. This is something that I can commit and write, and this is something that is not gonna be ridiculous overwhelming for me. So that's my decision to start with Kindle Vella. It's very very strategic, very well thought, and very like, okay, what can I manage right now?
One episode a week, right?
Yeah.
And you, Cole?
For me, I actually, when I heard about Kindle Vella coming out, I originally wanted to write a new story for it. But I was so busy with my self-publishing that I ended up not getting in on it when it first came out. And then I had a friend who was already publishing on Vella, and she shared her stats with me as far as like money that she was making on there. And I was like, you know what? I just need to start doing this. And I ended up pulling Space Slave out of words I had already had written, and just kind of dived in head first without really thinking too much about it. I mean, I originally started with serial fiction over on Tapas while I
Oh,
was doing self publishing,
Mm-hmm.
just so that I had something available for readers to be able to read for free while I was getting that book published. So I had already had some experience with serial fiction, and honestly, I basically only read like boys love web comics, web novel stuff. So like it kind of suits me better. Like it's what I read, so like it makes more sense for me to like write that. And honestly, like money wise, it's just a little bit more lucrative than self publishing because it costs money to get your books edited and get all that professional stuff
Mm-hmm.
done. Um, yeah, so that's why I ended up doing it.
Well, speaking of editing, now that you bring that up, do you guys have the stories edited, or do you have like alpha readers, CPs, betas? How do you kind of process through that before putting it live for your readers to see?
So I do a beta. I usually have one beta who goes through, and she like originally she was watching the document through Google Docs. So as I wrote, she would read. Um, um, I'd go throughout that, and then I would take it over to Grammarly once she did the story approval, and then I'll take it over to Grammarly. And I try to stay like at least 3 chapters ahead of my readers in terms of scheduling it out so I can at least step away from it for just a second because I'm too close to it sometimes when I'm editing it. So I kind of like have to get it out of my head, come back to it, edit it. Then I take it back over to the Google AI and let the Google AI read it for me so it sounds good, and then I publish it. So it's kind of like I'm a threefold process because I want this story with so many elements of romance, suspense, and drama. It's a threefold story interweaving all the time. I wanted to make sure everything is I hit every point And then I'm also making it really well read for the reader. So it sounds pretty complicated. But it works. It does work, because when I go back and I'm reading it and I'm like, okay, yeah, this makes sense when I'm listening to it later on the AI. So yeah, it's
I've
worth the
got to
work.
get in on that AI. I've got to do that.
That's
That would
something
make my
where it
life.
speaks to you, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it does speak to you, but it also catches, like, if you keep using it, it'll eventually catch your voice, and it knows like exactly what you're trying to say. It even corrected my slang. It even said, shouldn't you use ain't here? I was like, oh, okay, I like this. I was
Wow.
shocked that it chose the word ain't for me, and I was like, oh, okay. And so, like, it'll eventually start picking up on the voice that you want to portray, and it's really, yeah, I like it. I like the Google AI more than even Word. It's even almost better than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about you, Cole? Do you use a beta or anybody?
I might be on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I write my story in my word processor, and then basically I just proofread it myself before publishing it. So I do not have anybody read it for me, and I don't have it read through anything. But I do reread it, and I usually catch anything that made it through on there. But yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
I mean, Tiff, you're my only beta reader. So
Aw.
I'm right down there with Cole.
That
Callie
doesn't
used
make
to
me
do
nervous
beta
at
reading though.
all. Um, well, I know, Callie, you do editing though, like professionally, right?
Yeah, like that's my day job, so to speak. I'm a developmental editor and I do copy editing too. I teach it, which is hilarious because of all the typos people have pointed out in my Vella, despite my, self-editing. I have outside eyes. You just never catch everything. And I
Right.
know I have my own quirks, like every writer does, but like I could probably go through and tell you a list of things I'm sure I've screwed up, whether or not it's even in the episode. But yeah, from I think that's probably part of my problem is because I'm so used to I've been doing this over like 12 years now, editing other people, that I was absolutely panic stricken that what made sense in my head wouldn't make sense to anyone else. So
Right.
my first probably 50 episodes, I had the same beta reader and just one. And he was a guy, very, very helpful because stuff with action and things I really like. We actually got into a fight one time about one particular scene because I'm like, this definitely would lead to injury if I jumped off this wall. And he's like, you're crazy. No, I'm like, I'm also old. I would get hurt if I did this. So he eventually went out. I'm like, fine, if you think this is not going to lead to an injury, I'll fix the scene. But that kind of stuff was so, so helpful. And then he ended up being a little bit too busy to do it. And then post, like say episode 50 and onward, I had a really awesome group of people I was using, and it just depended on people's schedules because Vella is so fast paced to produce that
Right.
sometimes I might have only had one or two beta readers available with that time I was doing 3 episodes a week. But I always had at least 1 to 2 other sets of eyes,
Mm-hmm.
even just to tell me the content stuff. If typos and things have, and I say if, I know they have typos and stuff that have gotten through though, fully my fault because smarter people than me have pointed them out, and I probably have to go back and figure, like I have to audit it, like and go because we can fix it. But I was so afraid when Bella was new to make any changes once it was live. I was just like, people have to live with it. I'm so sorry. But yeah, at least
Right.
getting people's I know, but at least getting that content gut check, especially on stuff like would somebody get hurt if they jumped off a 10-foot fence? Me, I would leave this earth. I would be dead. But maybe someone younger and more fit, they just, parkour roll and they'd be fine. So
Oh, that's awesome. Um,
A 10
so
foot fence, I'd leave this earth. That's going to tickle me.
Yeah.
So then when you're approaching your process of writing, because you guys have mentioned, that you do write it differently than you would a novel. Um, do you know you're only writing each episode or each scene? Like when you sit down, or are you just kind of like you get into a flow and you're just like, let's write just whatever comes out?
Pretty much. pretty pretty much. I just get into the flow, and then once I get to like a certain arc point, I kind of just tell myself to, okay, I know somewhere in here I'm either going to cut it because I either want to leave the reader on a high or a cliffhanger. I don't try to overwhelm them too much, like cliffhanger, cliffhanger, cliffhanger. I try to at least vary it, you know, in terms of how I'm writing. So then, I think once and usually my episodes are usually between 2,400 to 3,000 words, because I know the reader eyes actually physically get tired after 35 to 4,000 words. So I try to keep them below 3,000. So I know I can get them to get to the next one. They'll be like, oh, if I could just get one more. So I try to cut it so I know that they aren't physically tired and they want to just jump into the next one. So I try to do that. So when I'm writing, I try to just write to a point, and then I'll say, okay, I'm going to cut it right here and then go to the next episode. So, but it's really no plan. You just listening to the characters until like, okay, hold on guys, let me try to check in. I got to check in, guys. Can you stop talking for a second so I can check this story in? So that's kind of like how my process. I know it sounds crazy.
No, I think I write similar. I want to say because I do.
Oh, Tiff, you're skipping on us, babe. She's gone.
Still there, Tiff?
She's a very character-led
Am
author.
I here?
There you
Yeah,
are.
you're here now.
Yay!
Oh, I gotta tell you, I'm just so loving my cable people right now. Last week, oh God.
They're testing your patience.
Oh yes. No, I was saying my characters do, I feel like, kind of speak to me, and I'm not a big outliner. I'm more kind of like, I know where I generally know maybe like the beginning, the midpoint, and where I like the story to end. And then I'm like, okay, let's see how we get there. Kind of writer. So I can get what you're saying there about kind of letting the characters lead the story.
Right. And I am a pantser, and people are always shocked that I say I'm a pantser, because they're like, after 50 books, you should be outlining. And be like, what's the point of that at this point?
I mean, if it works, why would you change it?
But I do big clumps. So I'll start with like a sentence. That's what the book is about. Then I'll do a paragraph. Then that paragraph then I'll start researching. Like for her substitute husband, I was going into coding. So I had to learn, actually, my husband is a developer. So I'm like asking him, how do you do your job? How do you like code? If I have to code this, if I want a redundancy, if I want to move up the ladder, how do I do this? So I was like incorporating the coding world into the book itself, because when they talk tech between the husband and the boss, it had to sound real,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want the technical people to check me on it, because it was people who actually were QA who were reading the book, and they were like, girl, you got this down. You know how to, I mean, I had written out code inside of the story where they were talking about it, and they were like impressed that I could. I was like, you got to talk to my husband. He's the one that wrote. He's like, he was like teaching me how to do his job. And I'm like, I would not want this job. But those were my characters. So, and I like the serial. When you're doing a serial, you can incorporate so much research and so much backstory, and that makes it even more fun. When you're doing a fiction, you got to like hit it and quit it, and you're like, man, I could have drove that real hard. I could have, man, this fight scene would not have been 3 pages. I would have at least did like 3 episodes of fight. Like, And then as a romance writer, oh my God, I just want you to be a fly on the wall. So give me like a 20-page love scene. Let's go. Let's go. I'm gonna make sure you're sweating, they're sweating, everybody's sweating at the point. So it's like so much fun when you're doing serials because you can incorporate so much stuff into that. So yeah, like you do a lot of research, and it's a shame when that research goes to waste. But when you're doing a serial, you can like put all that stuff in and twist it and just like it's so much fun. You get so into it, like you become an expert. I think I know how to remove bullets. I can do a C-section on the fly. I can I can drive a forklift. I feel like the Matrix when I do research. Like it's and then I go and write about. I know kung fu. Let's go. Because it feels like that. You just know so much about everything, and you're able to incorporate that. So it's just a wonderful thing. That it's just me. I'm sorry. I get excited when I research.
That's okay.
I think for it's really similar for sci-fi fantasy because we have that same experience, that same enthusiasm to approaching serializations, but with world building, right? Because when you're writing a sci-fi fantasy, you're like, and in a book, you're just like, oh, I gotta put it in there, and I can only like mention this, and it's got to stick to this 90,000 to 110,000 words, or else no one's gonna want to read this book. But you get it in a serialization, and you're like, I can write everything.
Right. That's what I was like. I
Yeah.
am like amazed at Kylie because you've opened up this world and you're just building it from scratch. And it's just like I couldn't do it. I have to stay in reality. Just, I am intimidated by sci-fi. So like when I was reading the book, I was like, I can see it. I see what she's talking. Like it's so weird. Like as I was like reading the book, it was like, oh my God, this is real. I've been to LA like one time, but this is a different LA. This is
It's true.
awesome. It's so amazing. Like, but I do want to ask you, Kylie, like, how do you come up with like the research of all the different stuff that is happening to the character? Because I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but like, how do you like research or come up? I don't even know if you can research. You're like a Bram Stoker just coming up with it. Like, okay, this is what the reality is. So I would love. I mean, I know it's your talk show, Tiffany. I'm sorry.
I'm enjoying all of this. It's like a round table. Let's go.
I think Cole and
Take it
Callie
over.
could probably tell us a lot about how they build their worlds because they've put a lot of effort into both of them.
Yeah.
Well, in both of their worlds, like it feels like they're. I mean, like Sylvia said, it's LA, but it's not LA.
Right.
You know, and like Cole, you're like off everywhere. Like it's just like not even beginning to be anything that we know. So yeah, it's definitely like new world order, if you will.
So yeah, definitely. How do you come up with that? Are you intimidated by the process or anything like that?
Oh man. I feel like world building is usually like probably like your favorite thing to do for sci-fi fantasy, and I remember because I was doing this for NaNoWriMo that I actually spent time researching like planets and stars and solar system like stuff just because I was like, this needs to be real. I mean, it's basically an epic fantasy, but like in space. So I personally just like doing my own worlds because then I don't have to do the research about like real life stuff. I can just make it all up. Which is what I like doing.
I think that I might start sci-fi
You can't
because
fact check a world that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So it's just
I
and you
remember
can have fun
prepping
with it. You can
for
just,
my
bring
serialization.
things in.
I'm so sorry, Cole. I spoke over you. Continue.
Yeah.
I remember doing research for my serialization, and it was like how planets become tidally locked and what will happen to the Earth if we don't end up consumed by the sun. We'll actually end up in a tidally locked position with the moon, so that one half of the world sees the moon at all times and the other half has no idea that the moon even exists. And this is like literally billions of years in the future. And I'm just like, wow, like this is a lot. How can I write this story
Right.
with the world building I want and not go into a lecture on this?
Right. Because they'll check you. Your readers do check you when you. I think that's my downfall, is that I've been checked by readers a lot, especially when I do the secret babies. And usually my secret babies are scientific imagination. So I have to study like different ways babies can be made. And they will check me. I've had a gynecologist even. He was like shocked I even knew some of the stuff I knew. And I was like, you sit there and think about babies all the time. You're like, I don't want to bring this baby to life. I want to like pop it on them. Like, you didn't know she had a baby, did you?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I admire like you guys are able to just, I have to take reality and make it into fiction. And I get checked more than reality. I'm like, what? How are you gonna check me? Like, I gotta make my fiction more believable. So it's like when I read sci-fi, I get so engrossed with it because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see these people, I can see these monsters, and that's fascinating to me because. I get a little bit jealous because I'm like, they just made that up and it's so wonderful. And I had to go find mine. I had to conform reality to fit, what I'm doing. And I think often when I'm in career days, I'll tell the students, like, I get paid to write lies because that's what I do. And they usually say, are you a lawyer? No.
Those kids are smart.
That's so good. That is so good.
So it's just, yeah, I am so envious of sci-fi writers and dystopian writers because you guys can just take what's there and then just make it like, oh, believable. So yes, I'm in admiration of you guys. So
You
I'm a
bring
little
up the
jealous. I will
idea
say that.
of like you can see it, because I have to say that was the thing that had me reading Callie's story, like I was watching a horror movie, with like my blanket, like, no. But honestly, if I could have just listened to it, I would have been up under my bed. Because your descriptions are so like real for something that's not happening. So I'm
Right.
really curious, like,
Visceral.
yeah, like where do you pull that from?
Well, in part, I mean, I say this like totally with a straight face, but LA is such a crazy place. If you're not, like, I'm not from here. I moved here like the summer I turned 40. So I was like already old, and this place just seems so bananas. And every neighborhood is so different, and it's not all like what you would expect. Like the beautiful things are insanely beautiful. And then, one block over, it's really crazy, just the stuff that you see. And I think every scene in Bog it's rooted in things that I've actually seen or experienced. Like, I probably shouldn't admit this, but like the park at the opening scene, it's a real park. I go there all the time. And there are those boxers that are always there, Saturday mornings, weekday mornings. So when I was thinking about like putting the zombies in LA, I was like, this is literally where it would happen. And it would just be normal, like you wouldn't be at all
Right.
surprised. So I've had fun with it though, because I've like literally, driven around and used Google Earth a lot to go to neighborhoods, especially during the pandemic. I couldn't really go driving around, but every different neighborhood that's mentioned in place is real, and it somehow had an impression on me. So it was just something I loved and wanted to, bring the end of the world to. Cruel thing to do, but it's been really, really fun.
How thoughtful of you to bring the end of the world somewhere.
I know.
Especially while we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
Great timing.
Exactly what we needed. But it did. It was rather me reading it was really cathartic because then it made my world kind of like safer. Like, I'm okay. I'm not in this world, so it's
I
okay.
really
So yeah,
can I
it's
tell
that's
you, I want to send it to my cousin, but she had a stroke a few years ago, and so she doesn't read as much as she used to. But she had this theory when the vaccine came out that we were all gonna be zombies, and so I feel like this would be the ideal story for her right now.
to torture her.
Yeah, it's right up her alley.
Yeah, because she would be like, "See, I knew it was coming,"
Mm,
and
yeah.
it would be perfect. So yes.
It's more of like a war of the world kind of thing. That people would actually believe that it's happening. I mean, I do like it that it like when I did start reading it, it did make me feel like that because what we were going through, and as I was reading it, I was like, oh, okay, this is making me feel a little panicky. Like looking at my side eyeing people in the grocery store like, I don't know about this. I'm going home. I don't want these groceries. But it did but I do love it because it was like it wasn't just reading it's like she would pull you in kind of like your senses too. So I think that's why you were so able to see things so clearly because she don't just use like what you see. She depends on like the sounds and the taste and the touch and she like really sticks to. I know I'm gushing over you, Callie, and I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I'm like, I don't deserve this. Thank you. Thank you.
But I love it, and I love when I am immersed in something because I try to do the same thing in terms of like bringing my reader in. I don't want you to just be reading something. I don't want you to just hear, just read the words. I want you to just feel those words or hear their anger or smell the lust. Let's go in, so it's just I love when I read another book by another author and they do the same thing. So it's just like, thank you. I found my literary sister from another mister.
Aw.
Thank
The way she
you.
said that, knowing what she writes, I feel like that's the next story. It's just like a whole okay.
Right. And it's just like dangerous when I do it. But it's like it's cool when everybody else do it. It's just like I don't even trust myself with my powers. I was like, oh, we're gonna be bad tonight. Let's see where we're gonna go with this. I mean, when I decided to get the big bed in that scene where they the husband and the boss brought that huge bed home, and I actually had to go to a store and look for a bed that big because I had to actually see the bed. I wanted a huge bed because you got two big guys and a girl. They're not gonna do a king very well. I don't know about you, but two adults barely fit in a king, and if you're doing something right, you shouldn't have enough room. So if you got three adults, I was like, okay, so I need a bigger bed in this scene. So let's do a bigger bed. And I actually had to go and find a bigger bed, which is they do make beds that big. I did not know that.
Yeah, custom made.
Yeah.
How
No,
are
you can order them. You can
They
you can order them at IKEA. You can get them super large like that
wow.
and have them
our
shipped
our
overnight.
Yeah.
resident horror love bug, who generally scares me and causes me to have crazy nightmares, um, took your idea of doing a C-section on the fly and came up with a nanobot
Oh,
slices across the bulging, twitching stomach of the pregnant mother. Blade thinner than paper starts parts the tissues, blood oozing slowly as the membrane pulls away. There in the abdomen is the quivering cluster of eggs, shiny and wet. Jerking
Oh.
unborn babies are visible through the yellow sacs. One by one, the nanobot removes the eggs from the silently writhing mother, depositing the children on a leaf, her gaping abdomen now empty. The bot glues the still oozing halves together. The fly takes flight, leaving her progeny in the hands of science.
Ah.
Laura's so good.
She
I love
does
her.
this all the time.
I know.
Yeah.
She's
We're sparking her
insane.
imagination. That's a good thing. That's an honor.
I love her, but again, she makes me want to climb under my bed. Um, so I have to ask, in the idea of, because you all mentioned like your community and like the people that read your stories, like how do you feel that building community works really well on Vella? Like, or does it work really well, do you think? Because I know that you really only have like the kind of little Arthur notes that are a little small, to really kind of say everything that you want to say or impart all the information you want to impart. So how have you utilized that to build your community?
So you go first, Kathy.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say Sylvia should answer this because you are like literally everyone's inspiration and mentor. Um, I don't know that I'm super successful at building a community. I try to use the author notes to encourage the reader to like check out the Bug Facebook page. And I do get messages and things there, which is so awesome. I love it. But I didn't have like a reader base when Bug launched. So it's still, I think, something I'm figuring out as I go. So really like Cole and Sylvia, you probably are doing it much better than me. I don't even know that I'm doing it. So I'm trying. I'm trying. But Bella is, I mean, it's easy to do. It's fun, but yeah, I don't know that I would say I've got that part down yet.
What about you, Cole?
So as far as like the actual author notes, I am usually just have something really short about, either making sure they like the story or leave a crown or a review and the episode, like something responsive or something that will, I don't know, maybe invoke them to think about it or to make them be interested in what happens next so that they'll keep reading. And then I've also added my Facebook page link to that because I did create a fan page for the story. But other than that, most of my community, I think, comes from other Facebook groups that I've joined that are for like Vella authors and people who read Vellas. I'm not really sure how many readers I had that came over from Tapas, but I do know that I have some friends who binge read my story. So I definitely have probably a handful of friends that were like my starter readers, and then being in the groups made a big difference. And honestly, I really don't know how much like pickup we get from the Vela site, but I imagine some people find from like tags and stuff. Like your tags are very important for that, I think.
I'm
Awesome.
always a little intimidated by the Facebook Vela groups. They're very active.
Yeah. Well, what I started doing was I had already a readers group, but I wasn't really using it on Facebook. And then it was so funny because then for my first book, I just said in the middle of the book, "Hey you guys, if you got any questions, just come over to Facebook and join me and just start asking me questions." So by the time I ended the first book, all these people started joining who were, coming in at the tail end as I was ending this book and started just asking me a whole bunch of questions about the first book, and I'm answering them. And then they were like, "Okay, when's the next one?" So when I started the second one, like immediately the readers started posting discussion questions. And I was like, they
Nice.
just kind of took over the Facebook group, like, "Okay, discussion episode 1. Let's hear what everybody got to say." And then another reader would take over, episode 2, and then another reader would take over episode 3. So it just kept going on and on. So like literally the whole book, I think book 2 has a discussion question post where everybody comes under that and just talk about what they've read. So it was kind of cool because they were asking me questions, and of course I'd be like, "I'm not telling you. I mean, I see you guys talking about it, but I'm not telling you it's going to happen, but it was fun to see them interacting with each other. And they were either Team Dylan or Team Zygmunt. You know, some wanted the boss to win, someone wanted the husband to win. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. But at first I was intimidated by talking to them because I'm an introvert and I'm just sitting up there like, okay, these people are crazy. But then I realized they were talking about my stuff. And then so it was kind of, then it started being kind of fun. I guess I kind of eased into it, and then just start, okay, let's see what we're going to do with this, and building up the suspense and everything. And I would even show them my dashboard, my Kindle Vella dashboard, so they would actually see what episodes were coming up, because I wanted them to get their tokens together. Like, and no problem, this is going to be 30 tokens, so get your ducats now. So y'all won't be saying, oh, I couldn't afford that episode. Look, in the next 3 days, you got a 24, 29, and a 32. Let's come on, buy them now. So it was kind of cool because it just kept the story going. And as, like I said, as long as I was like 3 to 5 episodes ahead of the reader, I was good to go. Like, I knew those episodes were paid for, so it was kind of cool to write it.
Nice.
But they were enjoyable. I think building the reading community, because I would say in December, I had 98 people in the reader Facebook group. And right now I have 800.
Wow.
Wow.
So it does work.
Crazy.
And they do buy the episodes. So it's kind of like, hey, and someone did ask me, like, aren't you scared? If you start a new story, you'll lose those readers. And the second one, I was kind of scared. But then by the time they got to episode 4, because I didn't think anybody would make it to episode 4, because I made this like a slow burn. I was like, okay, we're not even looking at each other or meeting even the boss until like episode 4. And I just thought no one would pick it up. But then once episode 4 hit and I started seeing the royalties come in, I was like, oh my God, they're actually reading it. And then it was like, okay, let's go. I had a little more confidence knowing that they were reading it and talking about it and having fun with it and just seeing where I was going to go with it. So I love the reader community because they get into it. And one of the readers even came on a podcast I was on, and she was like, this was the best experience she's ever had in her 40 years of ever reading books, because she's never really been there as the writer writes. And she said it was just a magical experience being able to literally talk to the writer as they write. Like, she's like, it felt like I could reach out and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Sylvia, what's happening? And I'd be like, okay, that's creepy, but but it was nice. It was nice to be able to bring that experience to, other readers who felt the same way. So I enjoy it, and I've always enjoyed it. Like I said, I've been doing this from 2009, and even on the blog, it got where they were like, I was scared I'd have to put a restraining order on some of them because they were like, I know where you live.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's pretty
okay. You in Detroit, right? I do shoot on site. we are allowed, long as the bullet hit the front, I'm good. So I'm good. But yeah, but you love that stalking, but you're kind of scared. But it's like a good stalking. I don't know if you can say that good stalking is that even acceptable. It's an oxymoron. But it's a wonderful term when you do combine the reader in there and really get into there and start answering. I would love to hear what your readers are asking you, Callie. So could you post that like on your Instagram? Because I stalk you there. I'm not going to tell you that, but I do stalk you on your Instagram. So like, we would love to see reader questions, because they might have the same. Because I'd be like, oh, if I ask her like 50 million questions, I don't want to ask her, but I want to ask her. So I want to know if I'm the only one that feels that way. So that's fodder to
awesome
post.
suggestion.
So please let me know, because I don't want to bug you, because I want you to write, but
You want to know too.
I want to know. Does
Yeah.
anybody else feel this way? Is anybody feeling like this?
Which is what I think is so great about your reader community, because yeah, they're having this beautiful experience with you as the writer, but they're also finding reader friends and
Right.
people who they can talk and think through what happened in the episode and what could come next. So that's great. I love it.
But see, like, since I'm writing a suspense, so the readers become these sleuths, and they try to figure out like who killed somebody, or whose baby is this, or who's gonna be doing something next, or is he really as bad as they say? And I'm like, yeah, he is. And they'd be like, no, he's so good. They'd be like, Princess Leia, he's so hopeful. I'm like, no, he's bad. He's a bad person. There's no redeeming qualities, because I do no redeeming qualities. I don't, just because they're in love, don't make them a nice person. I'm gonna tell you that one.
Wow, preach
That's
that.
true. That's
Preach
true.
that. Have you guys ever found a sense of community among other Vella authors? Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of platform right now, but how are you guys reaching out to other Vella authors? How are you guys building that sense of community?
I think we're sharing. I think it's because groups like Gage is built, and Tessa Combs has built, where we're all sharing the information. I don't mind if someone asks me a question. Then they hit me up offline and like, oh, can I have more information about this or things? I even got a FAQ doc I just send people now on Kindle Vella, because we'll be going back and forth all day. But I think like the people who we know that are in it are really in it for the story and bringing readers to the platform. I mean, we don't mind. I don't mind sharing the information. I've heard other authors tell me, who came to me for information, they're like, well, no one's told me this much information before, and I'm like, I don't mind. Because if I share information with you, you bring readers in, they're gonna eventually find me because I'm Sylvia. So okay, let's go.
I love that.
I'm a little modest, but but it's just like I mean, they're gonna pay it forward if I help them out. So I just know, like, eventually they're gonna share my work with them, because they're gonna be like, oh, she helped me out, let me share her work. So I'm confident in that knowledge that if I help you, you're going to help me eventually with that. And if you're not, even if you don't help me out, I'm still going to get my tenfold blessing either way it goes. So I don't mind helping people get on the platform, understand the platform, and do it right. And I have checked my friends. I will read their episodes and be like, you go back and pull this and do better, because you got to bring it. Like, you can't embarrass me, and I'm not going to be promoting your work if you're going to be putting this crap out. So I do check my like close friends, but everyone else, I mean, I'm supportive and I love sharing with my readers, and like, okay, guys, I can't come up with any episodes, but here's somebody else's episode. You can read it until I come up with my next one. So I don't mind that.
Have you guys found that same sense of community, Callie and Cole?
Yeah, like I said, I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups for Vella authors, so I feel like I interact with a lot of authors like through there. Yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot on those groups. A lot of people reading a lot of stuff.
Sylvia, I really do want to echo what JC said here, which is like, you're a good friend.
Aw.
Check
Yeah, I
in.
will check you.
Someone. Yeah.
I will. That's probably why I don't have a lot of friends.
It's their loss.
It is their loss. Quality over quantity.
All of a sudden, they don't want to talk to me. I don't like what you said to me. I was just being honest. I'm sorry.
But I think there's something.
But closed
Like I
mouths
said.
don't get fed. I mean, and when you are in these groups, if you aren't asking the questions that you need to know, I mean, I equate it, like, even if this is a stupid question, I'm gonna put it out there, and I'm like, okay, where did you guys find that information? This probably was asked before, but I'm gonna ask it again. But closed mouths don't get fed. So ask the questions. If you want to know something, ask the questions. If you're having difficulty with your story or you're not finding readers, don't depend upon just the groups, bringing something in. Ask them, well, how do you get people outside of the Facebook groups? Everybody has a way. Like my dad said, it's always a way to skin a cat. Not the same way. I know that's a horrible analogy, but that's what he would say.
As we're putting a cat.
Oh, protect your cat.
He would always say there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So I was like, okay, thank you for that, Dad.
You are perfectly safe, little kitty.
Nothing's gonna happen to you.
She's far, far away.
But the whole point is, though, ask the questions. Don't be intimidated by people in the group, and don't even be intimidated if people are showing off their crowns. We're proud of our crowns, but we would love everyone to have a crown. I would love for everybody. I wish everybody could get a crown, because it's just the most wonderful feeling to be kind of validated. Like, you feel like Sally feels, like they like me. You actually like me. You start making that speech like she did and crying, and because that's how you feel, because it's just a wonderful feeling. I mean, I love the beginning of the month. It's the most horrible time for Vella, is that the first 5 days is the worst, because you're like, I'm a failure. I'm such a failure. I don't have a crown. And then when the stats catch up and your crown comes by the 5th day, you're like, oh my God, they like me again. They like me. So it's so much fun, though, to do that. But I want everybody to have that feeling. So, if I can help you get a crown, I will. I don't encourage you to try to just have everybody, your friends and family, read it. Really go out there, because this platform is a learning platform. And I think Callie said before in another interview, like, this is great for a new beginner, because not only are you learning how to write, you're learning how to publish, and understand deadlines, and then you're also learning how to market. Your hard-nosed marketing, and you're learning it more and faster than what other indie published new writers will learn, because you have to learn how to get out of your shell, pretend to be an extrovert if you're an introvert. Bring your Sasha fears to the front and just be, okay, this is me as the author, and I would love for you to come read my book. But you can't even say read my book. You got to find another creative way to say it.
That's true.
But it's just like, this platform is perfect if you want to learn how to be a real author, and everyone should take advantage of it. Everyone should try to exceed to get a crown, and just have fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of the crowns, because I know, as with all social media algorithms, um, nobody really knows how they work. So, do you guys know, in a sense, how the crowns are distributed, or how the coins are distributed, or how everything works kind of behind the scenes?
The grace of God. Just ask God for grace and mercy every day, and boom, you get a crown. Like, it's just, I don't know, because when I first got the first one, I had to question it, and I even doubted that I thought they made a mistake. I just kept sitting there hitting F5, thinking it's gonna go away for like an hour. I think I wore the button down.
Wow.
Because I was like, why did I get a crown? Who crowned me? Why would they do this? Like, and so, like, but then it went away, like, the next day. The first time it happened, it went away, and then it came back the next week. So I started to get the strategy of, Thursday, Friday, you should be doing like at least 3 episodes, no more than 3 episodes a week. If you want to keep your crown, no more than 3 episodes a week. You have to bring it, and you have to kind of maneuver or manipulate your story. So that Friday, when they're getting off of work and they're reading that story, they're like, okay, you kind of put in the author's notes, hey guys, faves are coming through. Those token days are Saturday, Sunday. I know you would love me to continue the story. Give me a crown. And it started working when I just like started flat out asking them, like reminding them, hey guys, I know you got something, and if you really enjoyed this, don't forget to crown me, don't forget to favor me, don't forget to like me, and just started using that as a usual in my author's notes, that it's worked. Even like She Works Hard for the Money, I haven't worked on that story in since like I stopped it in November of
Mhm.
last year, and every once in a while I'll get like a week's worth of crowns on it. Like it'll stay at the top,
Nice.
like jump into the top fave, because those author notes are still there and people are still crowning it. So yeah, just ask. Like I said, closed mouths don't get fed. Just sit up there and ask. Give me a crown. You like what you read? Give me a crown. You want me to keep going? You better give me a crown. I would love to keep going. I want to get to the end, but that kind of makes. I even said it one time. I was like, it's like, you guys are sprinkling me with fairy dust and you're believing in me. So that's how, like, you're telling me in some kind of way you appreciate this story that's going on, and the crowns help. The likes help. It does. And I said, bring a friend and tell them to give me a crown. Because they have buddies, and bring it out to your reading buddies. And a lot of times I am saying that I'm asking them to share, because I know I can only do so much as an author, but I'm just the speaker. I need cheerleaders. So it's just like going out there, and you got to find those cheerleaders who are going to give you that. So basically, find your cheerleaders, and you'll basically be able to stay on top of the game. That's
Awesome.
how I say it. Callie probably has another way, but that's how I basically do it. It's just I just find my cheerleaders and then say, "Hey, I know you love my writing. I know you're reading the story. Let's just see if we can help me help you help me."
Mhm.
Basically.
We 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 all need Sylvia as our hype person next to our series. Like, I'm just gonna think of you the next author note I write. You've got this down so perfectly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to this stream a few times just to get the hype up from Sylvia. And I'm like,
Aw.
feeling down today. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the stream again. Here's Sylvia.
You can
That's
do
gonna
it.
pump me
You
up.
can do it.
That's gonna get me.
Well, I
You
figure I'll write everybody's coattails and get up there.
you
Honey, you
mentioned the
don't think we're on
weekend.
yours? We're on your coattail. You know that.
You mentioned the weekends. Is there like a good time? Like, I think I was watching something recently and they were saying Sundays are the best days to post, or is there a specific like word count to aim for, like when you're trying to go ahead and kind of build your momentum, if you will?
Do you have a strategy, Callie, in that terms?
Well, when I release 3 times a week, I've definitely slowed down over the last month or two. I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That way, the Friday people, maybe they wouldn't actually read till the weekend. And then I'd have an episode right away on Monday if they missed a crown opportunity. And I didn't know that at first. Like, I kind of figured it out as time was going on that, like, oh no, this will work. And then word outside it. So I think obviously if you're going to release like once a week, maybe choose like a Monday, a Friday, or midweek, whatever works for you. But keeping the crown situation in mind because it is so important for performance. But word count, I thought I would be really low, like 1,500. I never thought I'd write longer than a 1,500 word episode. But then my episodes were getting up to the 3,200 words. And I feel like I could really see in my reports, like maybe I need to be a little bit shorter. The short episodes, there seem to be more reads and likes. And then the longer ones, I'm like, maybe that just seems like too many tokens or too much. So then I kind of leveled off at around 2,600. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not like military precision, like I cut myself off. Like that one, this is so weird, like the little things we learn, but like 2,601 to 2,699 words, it costs the same. So like once I hit 2,600 words, I'm like, I either got to button this up in 100 words or I'm in the next token. So you just, whatever works for you, but keeping those things in mind can help you make some decisions. If you're like, should I write longer, should I write short? Keeping that stuff in mind once you know how it works might help.
Right. And that's what I pretty much do the same thing. Once I get to 2,400 words, I'm like, okay, I got to wrap this up because I'm trying to think of, did I get everybody's thing in? And if I missed anything, I got that 300 to 400 leeway to kind of squeeze in. But yeah, that those tipping points are between 24 to like 3,000. Even I tried not to hit 3,000 as much, and only time I really do, I apologize to him in the author notes. I'm like, but this was a really good episode. This was a really good episode, guys. And I was like, if you like the episode, let me know. If you didn't mind paying the 30 tokens, that'll be my poll for that episode, because I do get, I don't want to charge them a lot, but I want to get, you want to be true to your characters and you want to be true to the story at the same time, and you don't want to shortchange them, because I'm honored that they took the time out to read me, and I want to give them the best that I got, but I don't want to shortchange myself in terms of like, okay, I want to make this episode really count, instead of just having like it's just a wasted episode or something like that. But yeah, the 3 times a week has always worked for me. It's always brought the readers in faster. Starting off, I usually tell everyone, make sure you're at least 15 episodes ahead, so it kind of gives you time to, if you have a bad day, if you have a migraine day, or if something else is calling your attention, you stay a little bit ahead of the game, and you're ahead of the jump gate, and you kind of can gauge what your readers are going to do. So that's how I am.
And Cole, you put your story on hiatus at one point, right?
It is currently on hiatus. I think I posted last week about it. So originally, when I started, I was posting about 5 episodes a week. And my episodes are only 600 words. Usually they're between like 600 or 700. A couple of them are like maybe just over 800. But I did that very intentionally so that I could post more regularly with shorter episodes and be more in line with kind of the style of like the web comics that I read, where it's short snippets that you kind of get that like instant little read. It's really easy to read it in between doing something, and you kind of like, you get excited to see it, every day. And I think the last 2 months I only did like 8 episodes each month. So it definitely like dropped down after like the first couple of months for like how many episodes I was posting, and that was mostly because I had a lot of content created up front that I was like editing and posting. But I do think doing that at the beginning probably helped me like generate momentum. And I haven't really noticed much change as far as like reads goes, even though I was posting less, which I was worried about. Which is why I decided to do the hiatus, to take time off, because one of my
Oh, Cole, we lost you.
one of my friends passed for myself, so
There you are.
we'll see how that goes. But I'm pretty positive my month is actually looking really good so far, and I haven't posted anything, so I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
That's
It's always interesting to come back from or to see a story come back from a hiatus. You're like, what were you doing with that time? Why weren't you entertaining me? Why were you... From a reader's perspective, it's always,
How dare you have a life?
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things too, where like I have 105 episodes published, so any of my new readers might not catch up to, catch up to where I'm at before I even come back. And the readers that are, I think I have like, about 8 people who like religiously read every new episode. I think those are probably people who know me, and they're okay with me taking a break. But yeah, and as for the crowns, I don't think timing really mattered for that, because from what I understood, everybody gets 1 a week. Like, as long as you unlock an episode that week, you get 1 for the entire week. So as long as you post a new episode each week, you have that chance of people unlocking it and using their fave or their crown on you for that week. Um, so it would be interesting to see if people actually notice the difference between like if posting on different days makes a difference, but I imagine readers are reading on whatever day they normally read on, and when they unlock your episode for the week, that's when they have their chance to use that crown. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of strategy involved in that aside from asking them to give you a crown so that they know that that's important. um, but yeah.
So, long story short, ask.
Yeah.
Always,
Right.
always, always ask.
Yeah, I think that
And
was
have
what
a
this
big
was.
backlog to rely on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you, mentors.
Well, I have to ask because we're getting close to like our time, but if there was one thing that you would suggest to new writers like Esther and Gwenna and possibly myself, what would be the best advice or the one piece of advice that you would give?
Any of the three of you.
They
Don't
have
hold
so
back.
give them a second.
So
was gonna
much
say-
advice.
I feel like the biggest thing is to make sure that you're having fun and that you're enjoying writing the story, because for serial fiction, this is something that you could be writing for a really long time, and if your heart's not in it, then like that's going to be a struggle for you, especially for like keeping up on posting regular episodes and stuff like that. So just make sure it's a story that you really love and you're really passionate about, and if you're not having fun, then what's the whole point in doing this, right?
True.
I love that.
I do. That was pretty good. I think you took mine, Cole. I would say, uh, God, you really did take mine.
Do you have one, Callie, so we can give Sylvia a
Yeah,
little bit more time to think?
yeah. Give me time to think.
Sure. Sure. Cole was perfect. I honestly completely agree. That would be my number one piece of advice. But number two is because Bella is so dependent on episode likes, crowns, and all that stuff. And there's so much talk about bonuses and things like just don't stress about that stuff. Like the writing really has to come first. And obviously we all want to, make money, be profitable, be successful, but have a longer view for your writing career and know that this is part of it. You know what I mean? Like it's a starting point or an end point or a middle point. Or if you're like Sylvia and you have 50 books, that's amazing. But try not to obsess about those metrics because it can be like it's a real thing, like the refresh finger being exhausted because you just want to know, is anyone reading? Is anyone fun? So just enjoy it because it will come through, I think, in the work if you're just so focused on the technical, like data side of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the third thing would be, I would say, plan for your future. This is going to be a platform. We don't know where it's going to go, but you want to make sure that as you're writing and publishing and marketing out there, that you're planning for the future. So don't just have this as all your eggs in one basket. You want to make sure that you can reach out to your readers, that your readers are coming over and subscribing to your blog or following you on your social media. So you want to make sure like this isn't the only way you can reach your readers, because hey, it may go away. So the third advice I would say is plan for your future as you're doing all of this. And I know that seems a little bit overwhelming, but it's very important. I mean, you want those readers and you want to keep those readers. You see those reader counts and you see how many people subscribe, but you don't want to have to start this all the way back over again on somewhere else. You want to be able to say, okay guys, I'm here. You're the brand, you're the platform, not Amazon. And even though they hold you to it, but you can still take those readers away. So and that's the fun part about this whole thing, is that you are interacting and you are creating in front of everybody. And it may seem like it, like Kelly says, don't get caught up in the stress of it. Cause I think that's a lot of times when I was doing, like after I got to 100, I was sweating like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this? When you hit your 100, you're like, oh my God, what have I created? A monster. Um, but you should not get stressed about it, which I had done. And I literally did stop writing for 2 weeks, and I just played, and I'd be like, I know I gotta write, but these dishes look important all of a sudden. Because I would get stressed out about everything. But once I started looking at it as a way for me to springboard into doing other things with these readers and creating even more stories that I know they're going to follow me, that was like a revelation of, oh my God, this is even more fun than I thought. This is even a bigger blessing on in front of me that I didn't think it would get this big, and I could even make it bigger if I wanted. So
Mhm.
yeah, don't get caught up in the metrics, don't get stressed out about it, and then just have fun with it and then plan for the future.
Awesome.
Awesome. Is
We've
there
got,
any? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've got one question in the chat.
Yes. How many books do you have on Kindle Vella? Do you recommend having one book or multiple?
For me, I can only do one story at a time because I dedicate so much to that story. So I know I'm going into my third story on there. So I'll have, like, by August, I'll have 3 stories on there altogether. But I'm not doing multiple stories because I think that takes, for me, and I'm speaking for myself. I think it takes away from the passion of, I have to fall in love with my main guy, and that takes a long time because usually they're on my nerves. I can't have 2 men on my nerves. It was horrible. The last book I read, I was like, I'm tired of these men. I don't even want to talk to them no more.
We're talking about men, not real life, right?
Right? I'm talking about the characters. But
Oh, okay. All right, the
I
character.
actually do fall in love with my men. Like I'm teaching myself to fall in love with the who they are and how they are and stuff like that. So I can't be, cheating on them with somebody else.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
for me, I can't. I want to share that passion and love with the reader. So I kind of like, yeah, I dedicate myself to one book at a time, and people find that really amazing because they're like, "But you wrote so many." Yeah, I was in love a lot of times. I am shocked I married. But it's just like me. I'm a romance author, so it's like I build these men up and then I tear them down and then I build them back up to love properly. So that's the fun part for me. I can't manipulate my husband like that. But I
That's
I do have to say he's given me the best love story ever. So
Aw.
Oh.
But at least you got fiction too.
right, I got
That's where the drama comes.
Yeah,
Uh,
you got both of the best world.
right. I do. I got fiction and reality. So yay me.
I can't imagine Callie or Cole, like you guys building a whole nother world with the intensity that you've built these two with, like at the same time.
I imagine that will be like very hard, very difficult.
Uh, I mean, it's possible because technically I have a world built for my fantasy novel series that I'm like kind of working on at the same time. But for Kindle Vella, I only have one story on there. If it ever came to an end, like if I ever found an ending to it, then I might write another one. But from my personal research, it sounds like I don't know. I can't decide if there's benefit to having multiples versus focusing on one because then you have to market multiples, and then like you can split your readership if you're trying to get crowns, like specifically just crowns, because they can only favorite one story a week, and if you have 3 stories, they have to pick one.
Mhm.
So if that's something to be concerned about, which probably only like early on, like once you've been writing and you have a readership, like honestly, I don't know how much being on like the ranked list really even matters, because I personally didn't notice any improvement in reads from being on there, because there was one month where I was like on there every single day, and it was not notably different from the previous month where I wasn't on there at all. So
Mm.
food for
Yeah.
thought there.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Callie, did you
Callie?
want to
Yeah,
add?
I just have one Vela up right now, and it's Tiffany, what you said, it's a for me, and not that what Sylvia does is simple, but for me, like the world building of like the pair, I have 10 characters and more planned for season 2 that I'm trying to put those breadcrumbs in. So I think the pace of Vela, like while I've kind of taken a nice slowdown over the last couple of months in my release schedule, I've been working on other books, which is nice, yeah, to do the intensity of what I wanted to do with Ella. I don't think I have it in me to do more than one at a time.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't. I
It's a
like. I
lot.
couldn't imagine. I mean, unless you. No, I was gonna say unless there was like one character that went on a spinoff, and I don't know, went to San Diego, but um, like even that, I'm
Where it's
like,
all normal.
no.
Yeah.
Because now you gotta destroy San Diego. Like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Right. You just have the zombies rolling down Lombard Street and
Right. You're Googling Earth,
That
like other
yeah.
places. Like, yeah. Um, so kind of to wrap it up, are there any improvements that you guys would like to see on Kindle Vella?
I think it was the audio that I spoke about. Like if they can incorporate audio, even if they have Alexa come in and be able to
Read
read the
it.
stories, make it more accessible or easier to access on your Kindle Vella. It's not so hard. I wish like they did that. That would be even more awesome. I do like that they finally gave us our author page. That has been thank you finally. But I think the audio thing, that would be just that'd be about it. I don't think I want any more reader interaction on Amazon, because I don't want them to steal that away
Mhm.
from me, because I love it that I'm able to bring people off the platform and to
Yeah.
me. I think that's just enough, because it doesn't distract away from me writing. I think any more interaction with the reader, it would distract and keep me from writing if I have to attend to those things. Because I don't even poll every episode. I poll maybe about 3 or 4 episodes at a time, just to kind of see or gauge what's going on. But yeah, I like that. But other than that, it's just audio for me.
Yeah. I mean, the speed that they roll their updates, like, come on. You're a big company. Uh, you should be able, and you're not the only platform. Like, they could do a market research and see where they can improve things. So I'm just like, Amazon, you definitely can do better.
Fingers crossed. Good future stuff ahead, I hope. I hope.
Me too.
Yeah. Really, fingers crossed.
A lot of fingers crossed,
Like all of them.
Like we're all crossing fingers
like
on that.
even toes, like crossing toes.
Bless us with crowns and updates.
And
Grace
audio.
and mercy, grace and mercy, girls.
I think if there was anything I would say other than the audio and the updates, it would probably be reaching it out to other countries.
Of course, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like letting them play in the sandbox as well.
I do look forward to see what 2023 has to come, because I feel like an old woman sitting on a porch, because I've been around for so long on Amazon. So I've seen so much. Like I'm gonna tell you, I've seen a lot of stuff. And it's so funny, because I feel like I'm just rocking on the porch, like, ooh, they not gonna last long. But like since I like it's been to since 2000. I've been around, published and everything, and I think this is going to be a very exciting platform if we all work together to make it work. It'll kind of be like the Kindle Unlimited when it rolled out. I'm going to tell you, when they came out with the Kindle, I was on the Kindle wave when they first came out. When Oprah decided to be on, it was her favorite thing. That was 2009. I'm gonna tell you that. I remember that Christmas because at three in the morning I had only made like maybe $2, and I checked my stats, and then by Christmas afternoon at 4 p.m. I had made over like $6,000 because it was
Wow.
Oprah's favorite thing, and everybody opened up a Kindle and wanted to just download everything. And
Wow.
that was kind of like the thing.
Wow.
So like watching all these other changes and trying out and seeing what they were going to do, I'm happy that they did come out on this because I did not want to stretch myself thin,
Mhm.
um going over to Radish or going over to other platforms, and just, I mean, after a while, when you've been on different platforms as an author, you're like, you know what, I can't be pimp slapping anybody else for my money. I can't do this anymore. Because you feel like at the end of the month, like, who I gotta slap, where my money at, you feel like a pimp trying to look for your money. So it was like, okay, if I just, and I'm not saying, put all your eggs in one basket. Of course, I have other distributors and everything, but I kind of did want, once they introduced this, I was like so happy because I was almost ready to hit that Reddish button. Almost. I had done Wattpad, but I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't be over here and over there, and I'm just not going to do it. So I'm so happy, and I can't wait for 2023 to come to see what comes. And I do hope, even if the bonuses do go away, I think I'll still write because I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it, like I said. But I just want to see what's going to happen to it. That I wish I had a crystal ball. If someone has them, could you send it to me? I'd
They don't
appreciate
work that well.
it. Right, because somebody could have told us about the pandemic.
Yeah.
Somebody's crystal ball is broken.
Oh.
But yeah, it's just like I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. So that's gonna be really, really, I think it's gonna be awesome for the people who really love. You're gonna know who really loves this platform and who doesn't, because it's gonna really showcase those writers who just love serials, and and that's gonna be fun to see. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's me.
Ethel hopped in. She said, hopping in late, so excuse if this has already been spoken upon, but is there anything limiting about Kindle Vella in the matter of creativity and or sharing content outside of Kindle?
I think if you've worked on the Kindle Unlimited platform already, it's kind of the same thing. You only can share so much, but in that regards, like, but it's just still I mean, it doesn't prevent you from marketing. It does not. I think people took that to heart, like, I can't market this, and yes, you can. That's a lie. Um, I don't think if you've been on the Kindle Unlimited platform, you are able to do just as much as you would there, in terms of sharing, like, what you can share. You can even like link on some platforms, even link your link up on platforms, and they'll actually show the first 3 episodes. I know on my WordPress, you literally can read it on my blog and flip through the pages on WordPress blog. So I mean, in terms of limiting it, it doesn't, or sharing it, I've never been prevented. And even when they didn't give us links, I did what Callie did. I just made a link on my website, so then they could find me there until my book published. I
Mhm.
mean, there's, like I said, it's always a way to skin a cat. I'm just,
Yeah.
just saying. I know Cole hates that expression, but I mean, the only limit in this platform has been yourself, because even when I'm writing characters, or even when I'm writing stories, I am able to be a little bit more freer on Kindle Vella because I'm like, hey, this is a new platform. Let me see how far I can push my imagination and what dark corners can I go to, which I've scared myself at times. But it's just like it's more freeing to me because hey, this is new. So if it's new, then let's see, how can I push myself or challenge myself? And I'm going to tell you, after 50 books, you do need to challenge yourself every day.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be pushing out the same thing, and you are going to be changing as an author, and this platform forces you to educate yourself on yourself as a writer, your readers, and the world of writing and publishing and marketing. It forces you. So when you come there, you have to come up with, like they said, be the most popular student and learn everything you can.
Be hungry, right?
Yeah, you got to be hungry, not only just for the readers, but just for you as a writer. You have to be
Yeah.
hungry you want to get those words in. You want to put your fingers on the keyboard every second of the day, because you feel like I'm almost put a table in my bathroom because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm taking too long in here. I could be writing. Because you just want to get that story out, and you want those readers to get the reaction, but then you just also want to get to the next episode because your brain is going 100 miles an hour, and if it isn't, then man, find a new story. Because obviously you're not hungry enough, because that's how I'm just saying how I feel I get so wrapped up in it, and it's so much fun when I'm jumping into it. It's just, I call them brain gasms, and because they do, it's just, and they make me younger. People don't believe I'm 50, and I'm like, because I write all the time. Literally, I am regressing as I write.
Uh, I mean, to answer Ethel's question, I mean, I don't like Sylvia said, creativity wise, I don't think there's any like limits or constrictions. Sharing, highly recommend to read the content guidelines.
Hmm.
They're one of the clearest that I have read. Like they're
Right.
easily understandable. So you can not get in trouble with the Amazon lords.
With the powers that be,
Yeah.
the gods who grace us with
So
crowns and updates.
definitely read the content guidelines. Even bookmark it and read it every time you're like doubting something you want to do. Just go back and read it. Definitely.
Mhm.
But yeah, creativity wise, sky is the limit. And if you reach a limit, break it and go beyond.
Amen. Ooh, I like that
Uh-huh.
one.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on here and for sharing your stories and your comments and all your experiences with us. This has been so enlightening. It's been so fun. I'm going to give everybody a chance to kind of outro and say, let everybody know where they can find you once more. And
Don't forget your announcement.
She's gonna roll it through.
I
Yeah.
haven't. It's
Don't forget
coming.
that. It's
Uh,
like, I'm here, like, I want to know.
um, okay. Well, would you rather I announce it first or do everybody's outro?
I
I
would say
mean,
save the best for last.
yeah, we can go
Okay.
like Gwenna, like reverse, and have you
Yeah.
close last with
Oh,
your
yeah,
outro
that's a good
and your
idea.
announcement.
I
There we
like
go.
that.
All right. So we're gonna go with you, Miss Buena. You go tell everybody where they can find you.
Hi, friends. I'm Gwenna at Gwenna the Winner. You can find me here or on Instagram. If you like me, you can also give me money down below at Ko-fi, which I need to survive. So please do that. You can also read my work on Kindle Vella. The link will be in the description of the video. It is episode 3. Actually, the last of my freebie episodes premieres tomorrow. So I'm so excited to actually get to go on this journey with you guys. Take it back, Tiff.
There's all these extra buttons you have to push to take everybody out of. out of solo mode. It's like, where'd they go?
My name's Cole. I'm published under the name Kayla Canoe. I'm at Kayla Canoe on most social media platforms, or you can just find all of my links on my website, which is just kaylacanoe.com. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, I'm kind of getting faster.
I am Sylvia Hubbard, and you can find me at sylviahubbard.com, but you can also find all my books on Kindle Vella. My latest one I've completed is Her Substitute Husband, His Boss, and my new one will be available starting August 1st is Delilah's Desire. I write erotic, steamy, suspense, intrigue, and you can find me anywhere on any social media platform at Sylvia Hubbard 1.
I got it.
Yay!
I'm Chase, and I just want to say thank you to the amazing writers in the room and Tiffany for having me. Bug is on Kindle Vella. You can find me there, or any updates about other projects, other things on CallieChase.com. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Yay!
Hi, I'm Esther Marie Andor, again, Puerto Rican writer on her journey to be a hybrid author. My upcoming Kindle Vella, it is a paranormal enemies to lovers, soulmate, fated mate romance. And if you're looking for commissions for Puerto Rican representation or fat plot size representation, check out my coffee link.
I feel like that was an announcement. I didn't know we were doing that. Okay. And you are on my channel, Tiffany TLRS Lifestyle on all the interwebs. And my announcement is that I will be launching my own or my own Vela story. Come find her on July 26th.
Woo!
So if you want to get any of the information, go to my Ko-fi page because I also started a book club there so that you can get all of the behind the scenes before it launches. So yay.
Hey, she joined the club.
I did. I joined the club. Well, I was always joining the club. It was just which day I was joining the club.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm super excited that everybody came, everybody had fun. Again, thank you so much for coming and for hanging out with us. And I hope you got a lot out of this. And please, by all means, go follow all of my people on here. I will have all their stuff and all their links down below in the box down there that all of a sudden I've spaced on what the name of it is.
Description box.
One,
Thank
one
you. The description box.
Everybody
I
does
was
this.
like, the box down there. I'm like, I don't know. It's a box. But I will have all of their information down there. And if you ever have any questions, by all means, reach out. I'm sure any of us would love to answer any questions that you have. So until next time. Bye, guys. And catch us on
Bye.
Thursdays for some s'mores and scribbles. We'll be writing, hanging out, laughing, playing bingo, all that great stuff. Bye, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.